All right, we should be live. For anyone that's watching the rerun, hello and welcome. If not, if you are here live with us, thank you for being here with us. I'm Elizabeth, and this is the Midnight Society Book Club, and we're here to discuss Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, which I have right here. Did mark it up a little bit on this one.
Love it.
Yeah, so let's see here. So I want to start out. How do we want to start out with this? We want to talk about the book. First of all, we need to decide if we're going to submit this or not into the Midnight Society Book Club. That will be at the end. So for right now, let's talk about what this is about. Let's kind of go over some content warnings and things for anybody that hasn't read this yet. Also, we will have a non-spoiler section to start out. So it's non-spoiler right now. So anybody who has not read it yet, you're cool. I will let you know. But let's go ahead in the comments and figure out if you have or have not. If you have read it, why don't you give me a black heart? And if you have not read it yet, give me a red heart. So we just kind of know kind of the crowd, get a feel for the crowd here. And while you're doing that, I want to introduce my two co-hosts. I have Marcy and Kat, and yes, they are both dark fiction girlies. And so why don't y'all introduce yourselves, tell us about what kind of books you like to read, maybe a recent book that you've really enjoyed. And Marcy, do you want to go ahead and start? Just let them know. Also, both of their information is going to be down in the description below. So go follow them, go check them out. If you don't know who they are, you're going to want to. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Marcy from Marcy Reads, and I tend to read more of horror fiction, even though I read everything. And lately I've been on this cozy mystery wagon that I just cannot get off of. But yeah, I read a little bit of everything, horror, thrillers, fantasy. I love it all, even though I haven't read a good fantasy lately and I need to. No, I'm just kidding. I did. Oh my gosh. The Fourth Wing. I know. Very, very, very divisive, but I love that book so much. And yeah, I do wrap-ups on my channel, mostly TBRs because, my life is just a huge TBR. And yeah, that's it.
Relatable. I tend to stay away from TBRs because I can never fulfill them. I have the urge to make TBRs constantly.
Yes.
Yes. Really relate. All right, Kat, do you want to tell us a little bit about your channel, what you like to read, who you are?
Sure. I'm Kat. My channel is Kat Chats, and I read a little bit of everything, but mostly horror, thriller, and romance. My last 5-star read, it's back there. I've been having a horrible reading month.
Oh,
my my average rating in November was a 2.5.
No.
Wow.
But I did have a good thriller, Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh, which is coming out, I think, in March of next year. I read an arc of it, but it was really, really good.
Okay. Kill for Me, Kill for You.
Yeah, it's like a strangers on the train kind of trope.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve Kavanaugh. Got it. Adding it to the list. Nice. Okay, cool. So it looks like we've actually got kind of an even split in here. A lot of people have read the book, and then some people have not yet. So for those of y'all who have not, I will let you know when we do spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled. So let's talk about what this book is about. So do either of you want to tell what this is about, or I can?
Have you seen me try to explain something? I don't think so.
I never remember the word for the pitch. What is the
synopsis?
Synopsis. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll just read the back cover just so we can so everyone who hasn't heard of this can have an idea of what this is about. This is following Anna and Reid, and they really need a lucky break. They live in New York, and they've had a horrifically complicated birth of their daughter, Charlie, which has left Anna paralyzed. So she's bitter and kind of struggling with her mobility and with her relationship with her husband, Reid. And but everything changes when they win a housing lottery. So they get to move into this really prestigious building in New York City where there's all kinds of like rich people that live there. It's lavish. And so now they have to decide, are they going to move in? And not a spoiler, they do. So they won the apartment. It's called the Deptford. And but the thing that's kind of strange is that their little baby girl, Charlie, has these, how do they describe it? Needle-like bite marks on her body that they don't know how to explain. And so things just get weirder and weirder. This is compared to Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin, as well as Salem's Lot by Stephen King. So that's the general gist of this. He wrote Mary, An Awakening of Terror, which I read this year and really loved, but that came out last year. So that was why we picked this. Oh, I probably could have put that up while I was talking. All right. So first of all, did y'all listen or did you read it physically? I'm just curious.
I listened to it and I tried to follow at the beginning just to sort of, I thought it was going to be complicated. I don't know why. So I started following along like an immersive kind of experience, but then I just went with the audiobook, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
I did a mix of both the audio and the physical. And I also thought the audiobook was really good.
Mm-hmm. I did as well. I started out on audio and then I was a little confused by the kind of formatting of this, which we'll get into. Just listening to audio, I think the book really helped for that, but the audio narrator was really good. And I didn't look up who it was, if she was the same narrator that did Mary.
Oh, I don't know. All I know is that he does Reid's parts, the author.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Well, he has he talks about the content warnings in the beginning, and then he has an author's note at the end. Did he read another part in the book that I didn't know?
Whenever it was Reid's moments, right? Am I remembering correctly? Whenever it was Reid's moments, he would read them. No? Yes.
I didn't notice.
I don't know.
That's cool. If that's what happened.
Am I crazy?
I thought it was the same author or the same narrator throughout, but I could be totally wrong.
Maybe I don't know.
Let's see. This CW was all the nope for me. Oh, the content warnings. But I read a bit anyway, and I'm intrigued. Yeah. Let's see. Bit of everything, mostly fantasy and horror. A little bit of thriller. Cool. Hi, Maya. Read it on my Kindle. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Trying to finish Salem's Lot. Partly read it, mostly listened to the audiobook, which was great. Mix of audio and digital. Paperback from the library. Might switch to audio. I don't think there is. I don't think a hardcover came out. I think it's just the paperback.
I think so too.
I think it's the paperback too. I'm not sure.
Opposite of that it comes out in hardcover and then later, if it does well, the paperback comes out.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Hello. Okay, so let's talk about the content warnings because there are a lot. So he actually does list them at the beginning.
Yeah.
So he has a little quick note about the content of this book. So I'm just going to read that to y'all so that anyone who is concerned about the content warnings will have an idea. He says, a quick heads up about the content of this book. You're going to find marriage troubles, parental trauma, child endangerment, talk/images of infanticide, postpartum depression, suicidal ideation, bodily harm, ableism, internalized and externalized, anti-Semitism, internalized and externalized, claustrophobia, some gaslighting, and a whole lot of bug stuff. And then there's also a character who's a real racist, sexist piece of shit. That is a quote. And it's true.
Yeah.
I think that was interesting or not interesting, but I love that he came out and said that because a lot of authors have seen a lot of pushback in recent years if they write characters that don't necessarily reflect their own beliefs, but are specifically a certain way to contribute to the story.
Right.
So I totally understand his intention there to be like, hey, yeah, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that it made it like easier for you to read those parts being warned and like, was it like okay? Because I felt like I was like I felt a little bit better knowing that I was going to encounter that. And then when I did, it wasn't like as harsh. I was like, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it still punched you, but it was expected.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry. My dogs are just barking outside.
It's
I'm
okay.
constantly letting them in, but I feel like they'll be even louder when they're in here.
That's what they are made to do. Like they bark, they talk, they sing. Let them.
I think so. And also, I don't know if you pictured Frank, was his name right, as anybody. I was picturing him as the dad from Matilda. And it helped, like, made him kind of more of like a caricature type of villain where I could just kind of like laugh at him and not take it so seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I actually hadn't thought about this, but I did have a mental image of him in my head. And I think it was maybe because his name was Frank. And I think that was this person's name as well from Miss Congeniality. The lady who's in charge of the program, of the show, her son, I think his name is Frank, and he's like redheaded and just like evil. Like that's how I pictured him.
That's really funny.
I'm picturing him as somebody that I've seen in a movie and like just a nasty type, but I can't verbalize who the actor is. Maybe one day I'll send it to you guys a message or something, but I can't think of who this movie scene and character is.
Oh man, that's so tough. Excuse me. I always picture, for some reason, I have this running like thing in my own head. It's like just me, like nobody else is in on this, just something weird that I do. I have like a note in my phone where if I see an actor who I think could play somebody that I know, I write it down. And it's not even
It's
like
so funny.
They could be dead, they could be alive. I see an actor and I'm like, oh, like there's rules too. Like they have to be slightly better looking than the actual person because it's playing them of themselves, like obviously. And then what's the other rule? Yeah, they can be dead or alive. So it can be like this actor when they were in that movie.
Okay.
And for some reason, like I just have to keep a running list of that. It's one of my weird idiosyncrasies, I guess.
I love it.
But it brings me so much joy to like match actors to people and even like fictional characters. So weird. So weird. All right, let's see. Hi, everyone. Started last night. It's only about halfway through. Enjoying it so far. Getting Rosemary's Baby vibes. Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that as well. I pictured Frank. Unfortunately, too many old guys I've encountered while living in Alabama. Ugh. Rough.
Can only imagine.
Yeah, cartoon character, like one of the swamp hunters. From The Princess and the Frog. I don't remember what they looked like. Oh, that's funny though. Okay, so yeah, so we did content warnings. Let's see. I do want to talk about the fact that this is, comp title of Rosemary's Baby and Salem's Lot. Have y'all read either or both of those?
I haven't read. So I think I'm like 100 pages into Salem's Night. What? Salem's Night? Who's a Salem's Night? Salem's Lot. My Invisalign sometime. I'm going to blame it on that. But I'm 100 pages in, but I've been 100 pages in for like 4 or 5 years already. I just have not picked it back up. So I don't have enough context, but I have watched Rosemary's Baby. But for some reason, I could not picture Rosemary's Baby. But what I kept picturing while I was reading was the same vibes that I got from Lock Every Door by Sager. Yeah. I could not stop thinking about that book while reading this one. Like I kept picturing like the same building, the stairs that they talk about. It was pretty cool.
That's a really good comparison, actually. I hadn't thought of that one, but I can totally see that. That's like old Gothic architecture. I think, is that one set in New York as well?
Yeah.
That makes total sense. And it's like this rich, privileged building.
Yeah.
What about you, Kat?
I have not read either. I've seen Rosemary's Baby, the movie, like years ago. But funnily enough, like I love whenever a book is compared to Rosemary's Baby, I read it and I love it. That's why I wanted to read this, because it had that comp title, and like so many books I love also have that comp title, but I've just never read the original thing. I don't know why.
I actually, I've not read Salem's Lot, but I did read Rosemary's Baby this month in preparation for this. I've still not seen any of the Rosemary's Baby adaptations.
Yeah.
But I wanted to watch the Mia Farrow one before this live show, but I didn't get a chance. But I saw so many parallels from Rosemary's Baby in here. And it's so weird because when you've not read like a quote unquote classic, but you've read other books that have been inspired by that, you don't know what is in like where they're pulling that inspiration from. And so when I did read that, I definitely had a different perspective on not just this book, but other books that I've read recently that were clearly inspired by Rosemary's Baby that I didn't even know about, like Delicate Condition by, what is her name?
Danielle Valentine, I think.
Valentine. Thank you. And that one, I feel like if I had read Rosemary's Baby first, I may not have liked it as much, to be honest.
Interesting. Because it wasn't like as original as you thought it was, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because there's definitely that inspiration there that I was not aware of, and I was thinking, oh, this is like a whole new thing, and it's not. This has been around since, like whenever this book came out in 1967, I think it was. But still good, and the same for this one. I do kind of wish I had a little bit more distance in between them, because I saw so many comparisons in there. And then what about Mary? Have y'all read? I think you've read it, Kat. Is that right? You've not read Mary?
No.
Oh, why did I think that?
Probably because I talk about it all the time, and I always put it on my TBRs, and I always plan to read it, and I never do.
I feel like that one's so up your alley. Like
I think so too, but I hear like so many half and half things about it. Like so many people say it's so slow and so boring, and like sometimes I can get on with that with like a slow kind of character study, but sometimes I can't, and especially lately I haven't been able to. But after reading this, I think I want to get into Mary sooner.
Okay, good to know. And have you read Mary, Marcy?
I haven't. It's been on my TBR same for a really long time. And as a matter of fact, I've been dying to read it again after I bought it. I had that, you have like that initial bought surge of wanting to read something and then it dwindles. But Ashley from Ashley's Little Library, she recommended that book to me. She was doing like recommendations based on something, like she put it up on her IG and I was like, oh, do me. And so she recommended Mary to me and I've been like really wanting to read it. And now even more because I really did like the writing in this one.
Nice. Salem's Lot was a DNF for me. I've only watched Rosemary's Baby adaptation from '68. Great movie. Yeah. You know what's actually really cool is that the Rosemary's Baby audiobook that I listened to was narrated by Mia Farrow, who plays the main character in the original movie adaptation.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So that was
I watched the 68 adaptation because my husband was born in 68. And when he watched this, he was really young. Obviously, he didn't watch it when he was born, but later on, he was really, really young and it freaked him out so bad. He's like, babe, I want you to watch it because he's not into horror. Like, he will not watch horror with me, nothing. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I was so happy. And he remembers, he's like, man, this wasn't as bad as it was when I was like 10 years old.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. That book was so far ahead of its time, honestly.
I have to read it.
The feminism in it, the discussion about motherhood and pregnancy. Like, I feel like that was just like in 1960, whenever it came out, would have been like,
hard
hitting, like really hard hitting.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I like didn't fill up my water bottle, so I just grabbed this Diet Coke out of the fridge, and now I'm realizing I forgot how much Diet Coke makes me burp, and I'm just like, just like burping away. Don't mind me. That is a facet of my channel. I will burp. Okay, let's see. Yes, Rosemary's Baby with the NYC angle, the building, the well-placed paranoia. Yeah, paranoia was a big thing. Experienced by the main female character, manipulative husband who sacrifices his wife child for his own interests. I want to get into that as well once we get into spoilers. Underlying vampiric creatures. Yeah, so even though I've never read Salem's Lot or seen the adaptation, I think there's an adaptation for that one, I want to say.
Yes.
All I knew was vampires. Like, Rosemary's Baby, I knew there was going to be something weird about the baby. And then I knew Salem's Lot was going to be something about vampires. That's all I knew going in. But yeah, there's a lot of that in there. I read Mary. I have a very unpopular opinion of it. I actually did not like it, but I loved Nestlings. That is interesting. Okay, cool. Haven't read Mary, but I loved a lot of this book, and now it's on my TBR. Okay, cool.
Did you read Mary? I can't remember what you said.
Yes, Mary was 5 stars for me.
Okay.
Like unconditionally 5 stars, no ifs, ands, or buts. I loved it so much. Yeah, and I thought it was like perfection. But I totally understand some of the critiques that it gets, that it is a little bit of a slower pace. And it is, but it's one of those where it's like pays off in the end. You know, it's like it's not slow for the sake of being slow. It's slow for the fact that you have to have all of this information in order to have the effect at the end that it's trying.
Okay.
So yeah. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, how did y'all feel about the formatting of this? Like I mentioned a little bit ago, it's not traditionally like normal chapters. So the way he splits it up in here is there are like chapters that start out with like their named titles. Like this one says Wind, and there'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 2 in this one, it looks like. And then there's also, I think, 4 or 5 parts in total. And so it's kind of split up in a way that's a little bit like scattered around.
Yeah.
Did you like that, or how did you feel about that?
I love it. It's very Stephen King. He does that in all his books. And when I first started reading King a few years back, I was like, what is this? But now every time I see it, I love it because it's his style, you know? And so I gravitate towards it.
Oh, nice.
I liked it too. I think I usually really hate when authors change character perspectives like in the middle of a chapter. This kind of allowed him to do it. And I think he did it in good moments where I like wanted to know what the other character was thinking at that time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I totally get that. I think this was, yeah, I liked it too. I think it helps like break it up a little bit more. But it was a little confusing just listening. I definitely would recommend at least like having a copy of the book so you can follow it, figure out, you know, what chapter you're on. And though most of this it's in third person, but it's written, you get mostly from the perspective of Anna and Reid. There are a couple chapters in here as well where we get kind of random other characters too, which was interesting. But generally I liked it. It didn't bother me. And what about the writing style? I know, Marcy, you had mentioned that you did like his writing, and I am a huge fan of his writing.
Yeah.
What did
y'all? Is Mary about the same?
Is what?
Is Mary about the same? Because I know some authors like to switch voices and tones from book to book.
Actually, I don't think it's formatted the same. I think it's just from Mary's POV, and it might be in first person if I remember correctly. And it's only Mary from what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, y'all. But that's my. But the quintessential like authorial voice is definitely in Mary. Like the person that you think he is by his writing is the person that he is, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
I really like his voice.
Okay.
Yeah, I did too. That's what made me be like, okay, I need to read Mary soon because I really, really liked the writing.
And he tends to, just based on these two, he tends to write in a way that is so conscientious and self-aware, considerate, but also like not afraid to like go there. Like, he clearly knows his inspiration. He clearly knows his like horror canon, and he knows where to put in those little spots that the reader is looking for, like that little bit of like kind of gritty moments. But also he's so considerate and like makes it so clear that like he is the kind of person that considers everybody else's perspective as well while he's writing.
Right.
We did not get to our ratings, so let's do that. So in the comments, let me know out of 5, what did you rate this? And then we'll go through and say what we rated it while y'all are doing that. So what do y'all think? What did you rate this? And we're still spoilers here, don't forget.
Kat, go first because I've been just like, taking the reins here on the first
fine. I'm like around a 4-star, but I think like it's my rating for books I read for live shows is always tentative because I always change my rating after I talk about it.
Same.
So yeah, and even like the little bit of time before it, I was like, I could be talked up, but I really, really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars too. Because I gave Lock Every Door 5 stars and it kept bringing me back to that book. I think I enjoyed it so much more. And it wasn't that I was picturing the same building, but it was almost like a cousin building. I don't know. It could be like brother and sister or like cousin. I don't know. It was just, I really enjoyed it. 4 stars for sure. I don't think I would go higher than that. Just because I will be completely honest, like Rosemary's Baby, even like I watched the movie, obviously I didn't read the book. I should try it, but it's not one of my favorite stories. And so I don't know if I could go higher, if that makes sense.
That's fair. That's fair. Wow, a lot of high star ratings in here. Honestly, like I'm kind of surprised by this. I did really like this. I'm kind of agreeing with Bailey right here. High 3, low 4. I'll probably rated a 4 on Goodreads for sure. But I could be talked down, but my instinct is a 4 as well. My natural instinct is to say 4, but I totally get what you mean about like after you talk about it. And I read books differently for live shows as well. Like, because you're going to be talking about it in detail, you kind of like have you're a more discerning eye, as you go through. It's not going to be one of those that you just like, oh, I'm just going to like not care if I missed a plot line and just pick up on it later and just have fun. Like, you're going to be talking about it. So you kind of have to like pay more attention than you might otherwise. But for reviewers, like we do that anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just more. 4 on Goodreads, and I could be talked up or down depending on how the slide pressure. So glad I made it. Nice, welcome. Yeah, so I think I am gonna go with a 4 for now. I definitely enjoyed this, but I will say I liked Mary better. I missed Mary, just like the character of Mary.
Yeah.
One. I felt like I knew her better than I knew Anna and Reid. And I felt like Anna and Reid, while they were both interesting characters, I didn't relate to on this like deep visceral level like I did with Mary.
Okay.
So
I don't know. I know that earlier you said Anna and then you were like Anna. I was like, I am so glad that I'm listening to this on audio because when she got mad that everybody says her name wrong, I was like, I would have been saying her name Anna the whole entire read.
Yeah.
And I never realized that there was a distinction between Anna, A-N-A with 1 N, and Anna, A-N-N-A with 2 N's.
Me neither.
Yeah. I feel like some people are A-N-A and pronounce it Anna, but I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, they definitely mentioned that in the audiobook. And I was picturing the narrator like on her first read through, like, reading it as Anna in her head. And getting to that point being like, oh no. And that changing the way she has to. Also, our main character, Anna, is a voice artist.
Yes.
A narrator. What do you call it? Voiceover artist?
Audiobook narrator.
Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool. And I was thinking about the narrator of this as I was reading it because she is narrating a book where the character is an audio narrator. Like so meta.
Yep.
So that was kind of funny.
I love seeing that aspect of it, even though we saw it some, but we didn't see it a lot. But every time she would mention that, I would get like a little giddy. I was like, oh my gosh, the sound booth. Ew. Like I wanted to get in.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see. 4 stars so far. I'll reevaluate once I finish. Author's note's the best part of the book. This is one thing that Nat Cassidy has done in both his books. In Mary, he gave a before note, whatever that's called, and an after note. And in this one, he gives an after note, like there's an author's note at the end. And I love that he does that because it puts everything into context. And he talks about the worst year of his life. And how, like, just like his entire family died in a year, basically, parents, and they were struggling with infertility, and his wife was having disability issues of her own, where she was like, bedridden, and a lot of parallels from this actual story and how he was like working out those emotions in this. And I was just like, oh
yeah, that's so awesome.
Oh man. So yeah, definitely love that he gives us more context for his horror. Because it all comes together.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see. So much more of the story. Yeah. Liked Mary so much better. Reid's character really made me struggle with this book. Reid was an interesting character, but let's wait to get to spoilers to talk more about that. I was rooting for Anna by the end, but I wouldn't say I liked her. I never liked Reid.
Yeah.
I've been thinking Anna, in my head, but maybe that's because my SIL, what is SIL?
Sister-in-law, I think.
Oh, yeah. Has a male noise. Malinois? Is that?
I think it's Malinois. It's a type of dog.
Okay. Like, don't say it's a dog if it's not a dog. Let's see. Really gives you a lot of perspective to see the mind space he was in, for sure, while writing this. Yeah. So I think it's probably time to go ahead and just get into spoilers. We've been talking about it for 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and move into spoilers so we can kind of hash out some of the gritty details here. So if you have not read this book, then now is your time to exit. You can always come back and watch it. It will be on my channel. So if you want to finish reading the book or read the book and then come back, you're more than welcome to do so. But I hope so far this has given you an idea of whether or not this is something that you're interested in. And yeah, so from this point on, spoilers, whatever. It's all coming out.
I feel when it's time for spoilers, I'm like, I'm ready. Let's go. Right.
Get the dirt, give me the tea. So let's talk about Reid, because we were, just brought it up. I couldn't decide if he was supposed to be like the bad guy or the good guy, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what the hell happened to him. Like at the end, I must have missed something. So I need y'all to help me out here. Cause what the hell happened to him?
The end with Reid was a little bit confusing as well, because I feel like when he's kind of figuring out what's going on, he escapes with Charlie, and then he's like, oh, thank God I just lied to them to get out of the situation. But then he's like talking to Anna, and she tells him that they lied to him. And then I don't know what he was doing to Anna, and then he was just gone.
So he was trying to keep her trapped. Was it inside the sound booth?
Yes.
Yeah. So he kept her trapped inside the sound booth, and he put the baby monitor in there because he wanted her to listen. And this is kind of when Reid turns the corner.
Yeah.
Of this whole time, he's been a great dad and a great husband, seemingly, except for, checking out the 90-year-old lady. But she was a vampire. So, she probably
could,
glamour or, something going on. So he traps her in there. She gets out. This is what I remember. She gets out, and then he takes her wheelchair away from her. That is unforgivable, Reid. So he essentially takes away her actual agency to be able to move so messed up.
Yeah.
And she grabs like a mic stand or something and whacks him on the toe, potentially breaking a couple of his toes. And that's the last I remember of Reid. Then he's like gone.
Well, but then at the end, he's one of the doormen.
Wait, he is?
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so when she's oh my gosh, I was about to say walking. When she's trying to get away from him, that she has her chair, she's going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Something happens to Reid where I believe he falls or he has some sort of accident and he's like, I can't move. And she's like, well, look at that, how the tables have turned. And she keeps going. So you're left to believe, I'm sorry, I'm being really loud. You're left to believe that he is paralyzed. And he can't, either his neck breaks, because at the end, she says it looks like his neck was broken. So what they did is they fixed him, and now he's the new doorman for the new building that has risen.
Oh,
and
wow.
So she says he's never seen me, or at least I don't think he's seen me, but I've seen him. And, you know, she keeps walking.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's like, this doorman looks like he can't move. It's like something in a Batman movie. I watched Batman movies with this man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she says, I love this man or something like that. Like she was with this man at some point. Yeah. So what happens is he breaks his neck, apparently. That's why he can't move when he has the accident. And he yells out to her and she keeps going. And then you know that because the same way that they were going to fix her, they fixed him, and now he's in their employment.
Oh,
I loved that part.
I did too. Yeah. When she goes, well, look at that. I was like, yes.
That is so much more satisfying of an ending. Wow, that's awesome. The old lady looked like for him to be thinking of her like that. Yeah, so like he has this job with these lawyers or something, and he hates it. Like basically they're like put too much work on him, and you know, he hates his job, but he's also a musician. But's never been able to make money with his passion. So he's got this job that he hates. And one day he just goes off on his boss. And it's like, this is some rich people bullshit. And the boss says, I mean, he expects to be fired. And then the boss says, no, I'm not going to fire you, but I'm going to make your life really difficult. And so he quits and he meets this lady in his building. Miss Varney, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he, like, when he first started talking about her, I was like, is he going to cheat on Anna with this lady? Like, because he was like checking her out and he was talking about how she was like so beautiful and glamorous, but an older lady. And I don't think I realized how much older until later.
Yeah.
What did y'all think about
covers?
What was your impression of that?
Yeah, I thought the same thing when he was saying older. I was thinking, okay, like 50, 60. And I was like, you know what? Everyone's got their thing. He thinks she's hot, like whatever. But then when you got into how old she was, I was like, oh. And when he talked about fantasizing about her and her granddaughter or daughter.
Yeah. Which turned out to be her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, but when he goes to work that he's already like fed up, don't you have a feeling like the building is inside of him already and it's making him act like that? Like the vampires or whatever they are wanted him to act like that and put that idea and like that fed up emotion in him to sort of leave that job.
Yeah.
I didn't get that impression, but it very well could be. Yeah. So funny that he quit that other job and he was complaining about all the emails they sent him, and then he went to work for the old lady to sort through her emails. It sounded like, okay, so let's talk about the vampire-ness of this, because they were vampires, but they weren't vampires. I have marked a section where it kind of explained it. I don't know if I know where that went. So they would live a very, very long time. They weren't traditional vampires in the sense that, you know, of like Bram's Dracula and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But when they eventually died after centuries, they would turn into these like gargoyles or these like statues that were on the front of the building. So they were like looking over the building. There was the like queen bee vampire that was like a sack of skin and bones in the basement. Or in the superintendent's office or something. Vera, who was the lady who initially showed them the apartment, was their like, what's the guy from Frankenstein? I'm thinking of Frankenstein's monster, the movie with Igor. He was like the character.
Okay, yes.
Where she's just like, oh, they're my special people, and I am to them for whatever reason, because she's dumb, I guess.
Yeah.
So she devotes her life to these people. They're trying to continue on their legacy by infecting babies, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But their baby, Charlie, is particularly strong. So strong, in fact, that she could potentially be the next queen. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot going on. They're not afraid of sunlight, but they can't handle dirt, like actual dirt from the earth. And they have these things.
Yeah.
That aspect of it. So the way they like feed is like this,
the straw-like
Yeah.
thing that comes out of their mouth and like latches on and like sucks the life force. That reminded me of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I feel like, if I remember correctly, the vampires in that story were kind of the same, where like this like claw thing came out of their mouths.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't remember a lot of that. The details of that specific vampire.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's how it was. But so it was a lot going on with like all of the vampire lore. How did y'all feel about his interpretation of that?
I'm still confused by that, because when he goes, like we were talking earlier, that he escapes with the baby and he goes to talk to the guy that he used to bum a cigarette off of, and talks, I can't remember who the man is, but you think that he is gonna get out, right? But obviously they talk about this creature and this lore. I get confused as to how he switches and what the guy told him about these creatures. I didn't understand that part, like the explanation of the story of the lore. So I'm very confused on that part too. I just know the goo and the babies, and that's all.
There is a lot of like bugs too. Which I liked. Kind of added to the little creepy moments.
Yeah.
The description of these bugs, and like Vera eating a cockroach, and
like that part. Come on, that was like the worst part for me. I had to just skim, because no.
That is what piqued my interest. I was like, okay, I don't know anything. That was kind of right towards the beginning, after she shows them the apartment or whatever. And then they're just following Vera, and she's like, sees a cockroach, and she just puts it in her mouth and has a little snack. But she's not a vampire, so who knows why she's eating cockroaches. She's just
she's weird. Who does that?
Oh, someone like Vera. Got the impression that they are creatures that predate traditional vampires. Yeah, they really talked a lot about that too.
So, from what I understand, they liquefy your insides, and that's what they feed on.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a lot of talk about Judaism in here as well. Nat Cassidy, I believe, is Jewish, and there was like it was almost like Jewish horror on top of that, because one main thing that I noticed that was a difference between Rosemary's Baby and this one, as far as like how it was unfolding, was that in Rosemary's Baby, once their child is like subject of this thing that's going on, without spoilers for that one, things in their lives, in the couple's lives, keep getting better. Like things just like, oh, this cleared up, and oh, the husband gets this great job and all of this stuff. And so it's like almost like they're like luring them in with that. But in this book, everything's going wrong. Continually talk about how they're 1 in a billion chance for something to happen, and it gets them, like Anna's paralyzed body. That happened in childbirth. Just something happened just the wrong way, and it was just so rare, and she ended up losing her mobility, and then they win this lottery for this housing. And so there's a lot of, I think that connects to like them being unlucky is connected. And I'm not Jewish, so please, if anyone knows better, please let me know. But there is this almost theme of like the Jewish people suffer, and they suffer these burdens over and over and over again. And so I feel like that was an intentional change from the original, where they're like, instead of everything getting better for these people, they are essentially cursed. They are so unlucky, and they keep getting thrown these things, and they keep having to struggle and push through them and move forward.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a really cool way to include that in here, especially with everything that's been going on in the world. Having that representation in this book, I think, is really powerful.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see what we're saying in the comments. I loved how they weren't typical vampires, but something more ancient. Yeah, and so part of that guy that you were talking about, Marcy, was that he knew about like ancient like Jewish lore. So Reid went to him under the guise that he's writing of a Jewish vampire book and trying to get information. And he's the one that told him that, it's the dirt that they can't handle, which is eventually how Anna messes with the Queen Bee lady. She puts like earth in her crevices.
But what was it when he spoke to that man? Because I feel like that's when everything got turned around for him. Like after talking to him, he completely changes his plan, and he's now willing to give the baby or live there. Was it because they could fix Anna? Was it because he spoke to him? I never got the resolution of what he got from speaking to this man.
I think he ultimately decided, because the guy told him, sorry about your character that you're writing, because they are doomed. Like they're not going to make it against these.
Okay. I must have missed that part.
Yeah. He's like, this mortal human being has nothing on these ancient creatures. So, however you write your story, your character's screwed. And so I think that fatalism kind of changed something for Reid, where he was like, okay, well, now I might as well just give in to this.
Join them. Okay.
And then if they can fix Anna's legs, then, we can just be, live with them and reap the benefits of their baby growing up so powerful and healthy and whatever.
Yeah.
But Anna was not on board. Anna was not on board for that. She's like, you are being tricked. I'm not doing that. Have you seen the neighbors?
Yeah, that's the part where you're like, well, would they have done the same thing to the neighbors, or would they have considered them more royalty because their baby could potentially be the queen bee,
That scene with the neighbor too, when she goes into her
favorite.
Her tits just hanging
out.
No,
that's not my favorite.
She's just like, hello. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh my god.
That's not my baby. They just flying. Oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Look how red I got lights on me, okay, you guys? I think the second scene in the apartment, when she goes back in and she sees the husband and the wife cocooned, I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yes.
I don't think I picked up on that. They were cocooned?
Like in the goo on the couch.
Oh.
While the baby fed on them and skittered around the ceiling. Ugh.
That's right. I knew the baby was on the ceiling. Okay.
The baby, I don't know if it's a he or her, but the baby just gooed them all up and they were still alive, and the lady's moaning and the babies, I'm like, what's going on here?
Oh my gosh.
That I think that was my favorite scene. I don't think I got scared by the book really, but that scene, I was like, what?
Yeah, some of the scenes in there were really grotesque. I love
Yes.
Yeah.
it. Let's see. Well, they look like once they become it didn't fit into what we were told about what they look like once they become the gargoyles. Also, I pictured, is this supposed to be the gargoyle? Because I pictured something very
A
different.
gargoyle, like a human-like thing, right? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, they said there was they had like squished up noses and something like that.
I didn't picture them like this.
I didn't either. It just occurred to me that, I mean, I've been looking at this cover for a really long time. Obviously, I've posted it. I know what it looks like. But in my mind, I wasn't registering the two together.
Yeah, this doesn't look like what I imagined. So I'm not sure what this, if it's supposed to just be like, the idea of nestlings, like it's a bird, it's kind of pigeon-like, like New York City. I don't know if he's going for that. And it's just like this, it's representing the fact that they're trying to like raise these babies.
Yeah. If you go up to the same person, they said, what the heck was that skin dog looking looking thing that killed the personal trainer friend of Anna? That's what I didn't get. That's one thing. I'm the friend. What happened with the friend? I thought maybe she was gonna find her or something, and then I don't know what the dog thing was.
I missed that part too. I was just like, Georgia's gone. Okay.
They're fighting. The girls are fighting.
Yeah.
And Anna was saying how she felt guilty about how she treated her. But I was just like, okay, I guess she's not that important of a character.
I know, they just left her. You're like, okay, poor thing, goodbye. Next.
But then they described her, who was it? When you got the perspective from that guy who had just gotten out of prison and he went to the event, he described a woman there with a dead look in her eyes who was wearing workout gear. So I thought that was Georgia.
Oh my gosh, look at you. Yes.
I was really picking up on things in this book.
You smart.
This is why I love lives, because I don't pick up on certain things, and I just okay, yeah.
Was that Busy?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so Busy was a character that only had one chapter, and they were like, okay, this happened a while ago, and that was on page 159, and that really got me going. That was when I started like making the connections. And he talks about, he remembered his time at Rikers, one of the ball dispensers for bingo. And then he goes to this place, Deptford. Oh yeah, he sees Ms. Varney or whatever her name is with somebody that he knows.
Yeah.
Who was like, like strung out guy. And then he realizes that she did something to him. And then we know in the current timelines, she has these men that just hang around her and always seem really drunk or messed up. And you're like, okay, well, are they messed up or are they, their insides being eaten? And we find that probably.
She laps up the.
Yeah. Oh, the puke.
Oh,
yeah. She was like, she just lapped it up. I was like, oh, delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I didn't get the skinned dog looking thing. So I guess that's how Georgia died, huh? A skinned dog.
She got captured
so fast. Like I feel bad because I didn't have enough time with this book that I wanted to take with it.
Yeah.
It's just been a crazy month for me. But so yeah, I did miss a couple of things. I tried really hard to pay close attention, but thank y'all for filling in these gaps for me.
It happens, man. It happens.
Yeah. Okay, what's this? My understanding is that it's a very, very old one of those things. Oh, okay. They don't live forever, but eventually they become those gargoyle beasts.
So it's like in between human and statue, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I think it's because Isaac was so defeatist and saying that they cannot survive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Isaac, that's the guy that he would meet up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he had two different names. I think he was also called something else.
Oh.
Why that was a little confusing.
Yeah, there were aspects that were confusing, but what the funny part is that they were confusing, but you were able to move right along and still understand what was coming up. Obviously, I didn't understand the lower part, but that's not. But you're able to hang on to the story and still get the ending that is, or that he puts out. I'm not making sense, but you get me.
I get you.
Yeah. For sure. Reid was tired of suffering and feeling hopeless, so he was willing, in essence, to sell his soul for his family in exchange for power and a happy ending. Yeah. Skin dog looking creature could be also a child that didn't transform correctly. That's interesting. Okay. Yep. Good theory, Maya. Let's see. I always forgot whenever anyone or anything is on the ceiling, and it should not be.
Same.
That's totally that's totally legit. I think Georgia just died. At a later point, Reid found a walker folded up in the basement, so I took that as confirmation.
Oh, because she. Okay, yeah, she brought the water. Oh, wow.
So many things. Like one thing I will give to him for his writing is that he definitely like fills in the holes. Like everything comes back around. There's space for your own interpretation. And yeah, I love digging into these things and finding out.
Yeah, because when he talks about the walker, I don't know why in my head it was a much higher scale wheelchair. That's what I thought. I don't know why. And then I forgot that Georgia brings the walker to sort of help her and do more exercise with her.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is a good point too, Maya, that Georgia was important for the Russian stewardess's story, and that this eventually helped Anna being loose and not breaking bones when she fell with Reid on the stairs.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Reid fell with her either.
Okay. She sort of takes him along with him down the stairs, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, because that is like a big thing when she's going down these stairs, and he set that up perfectly because even when they're looking at the apartment, she's like, what if the elevator breaks? How can I get here? How am I supposed to feel safe? And then they do have that conversation about like if you're in an accident or something and you have a loose body, you're far less likely to get injured, which is true. So when she goes down the stairs, she pulls her body down, pulls her. It's just like this whole sojourn of her getting flight after flight after flight, pulling her body, pulling her wheelchair, going down more, flight after flight. Ooh, that was like hardcore.
Intense. And not knowing what was around the corner after seeing that baby on the damn roof.
Yeah.
I could not get over that. Wow.
Wasn't there an actual gargoyle in the book? She said the sight of it made her want to throw up. Actual gargoyle in the book? Well, she saw, like when they showed her I was confused about this too, because when they showed her the apartment at the beginning, when Vera showed her the apartment, she said something about a gargoyle outside the window, but then it was like it was gone. So it went somewhere. Oh, and there was that other scene where she sees it she goes to check on Charlie and she sees the face in the window.
Yes.
That freaked me out too. And that kind of also reminded me of Rosemary's Baby, because Reid told her, oh no, that was a dream. And there's a whole thing in Rosemary's Baby too, where there's this like thing happening and her husband also says, oh no, that was a dream. Never happened.
And that brings parallel to Salem's Lot as well, because there's a scene where the vampire is outside of a window. He's like just in front of the window. And so you get those vibes there too.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see here. Is there an actual gargoyle in the book? I remember she said from the side of it made her want to throw up. Oh, that's just kind of confirming the same thing. Yeah, there was definitely gargoyles, but they were actually like older vampires, whatever they want to call themselves, that turned into stone essentially, but not.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing. at the beginning of the book when they move and there's a gargoyle outside the window. Okay, yep, here we go. Now we got up here. I wasn't sure of the point necessity of Frank's character. Okay, so let's talk about Frank's character. He was their landlord, their old landlord. And I love that there's like, I kind of love that Frank's their old landlord, and he's just so mad. Like, he's the racist, POS, ableist, sexist, all the things. He's a terrible person, but he is so mad that they left him and broke the lease. And he just feels like he has to get his vengeance. He can't let it go. And that ultimately leads to his own demise. I think for him, his character is kind of highlighting that kind of person that is so bigoted that they cannot, that they're like actually leading themselves into danger unknowingly because they're letting those things control their behavior.
Yeah, like their common sense is being clouded because of their issues.
Ignorance, hate, yeah, whatever. His death was so satisfying.
It was.
Oh, felt so good.
It was. I wanted more. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted a little more. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I wanted, but it was satisfying.
Yeah.
Also, when he gets killed in the stairwell by all of the little babies. Love that. And probably the older ones too. I don't know. They suck him clean. And then he has a hammer with him. And the hammer, when they throw his body down the chute to the queen lady to eat the remains, the hammer comes down, right? And then Anna uses that eventually. That is what helps her escape, that tool.
So, the old faithful.
Yeah.
Old faithful. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you think the story would have been, what do you think the story would have been without Frank? Did we need Frank?
I think it was just a satisfaction level of, listen, there are people like this in the world. Unfortunately, let's cause a little damage, you know. Those parts were harsh to read, but I knew, you know, you sort of know that something's coming to him, so you're just waiting for that, you know. And I guess it's just a point of satisfaction. Other than that, I don't see a reason other that he helps her at the end unknowingly.
That's interesting.
It also shows Anna's character too, because she is looking out for him. She sees him, and instead of, you know, her being like wanting to feed him to the wolves, she's like, run.
Yeah.
Like, despite all of like the beatings he put them through, she doesn't want him to die, but he is so, you know, led by his own, you know, idea of revenge or whatever, that he and also his inflated sense of confidence.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna flick some shit up.
Yeah. Like, what did he think he was gonna do?
Well, he clearly didn't know what he was up against.
Yeah.
There's that. Let's see. The dog-looking thing is the gargoyle. It could be. Definitely could be. Okay, well, let's see. I feel like we've actually like gone through a lot. I know it's been about an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you all want to discuss about it?
I don't think so. I think we hit everything.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about like all of the plot points that we kind of picked apart.
Yeah, it was so funny because I feel like I read a very simple story, but now that we're sitting here chatting about it, it's so much more complex with the little things. And I'm so glad that we did this, because there was a lot of things I didn't, you know, that were left sort of unanswered.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let me see what's going on over here. I wonder if Frank was there to symbolize a societal oppression. Oh, you know what? That is a really good point. Reid and Anna had experience throughout their lives, because he was like super anti-Semitic as well. Well, he felt like by him letting them live in his building, that made him a good person.
Yes.
Ugh.
I know.
Just a shit human being. Okay, so I know we mentioned a couple of comp titles. Marcy, you said Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. And also, I definitely got the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Anything else y'all think that if somebody liked this or didn't like it, that they should read, whether it's a book or a movie or watch or whatever?
I know we talked about Delicate Condition also, which is definitely similar, and Bloodline by Jess Laurie, which is one of my favorite books.
Ooh.
It's also like a Rosemary's Baby type thing.
Okay, I need to look that up. Bloodline. And there's also like a whole list in the back of the book, in the author's note, that, but who wrote Bloodline?
Jess Laurie.
Laurie, yeah. I can't remember. I know I read one of her titles recently, but I can't remember if it was Bloodline. Wow.
I already have that on my want to read shelf. I've never read it though, but I'm going to now. Yeah, let me see if I can find this list that he has in the back.
Oh yeah, right here. It's on 289 towards the bottom.
Yeah, vampire fiction. So he like gives credit to a lot of his inspiration, which is amazing. Vampire fiction, including Salem's Lot by Stephen King, The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. I don't know what that is. Black Ambrosia, which I don't know either, by Elizabeth Engstrom. The Vampire Tapestry by Susie McKee Sharnas. The Hunger by Whitley Strieber. 30 Days of Night, Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith. In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davidson. Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Southern Book Club, he mentions, by Grady Hendrix. Anno Dracula by Kim Newman. The Passage by Justin Cronin. I don't understand how that one. Oh no. No. That's not. That's a different book than I was thinking. That's not his newest book that I was thinking of. So I don't know what that one is. The African Immortal series by Tananarive Due. The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice and Dracula by Bram Stoker. Varney the Vampire by Malcolm Reimer and Thomas Peckett Press. Don't know what that is. And The Vampire by John Polidori. But then he also mentions books about parenthood and pregnancy, like Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, which is one of my favorite books.
I haven't read that one yet.
Love that book.
It's been on so many TBRs.
It's so good. Baby Teeth by Zoya Stage, which I didn't really love, but I know some people do. That's definitely a creepy child trope. Wait, is that the one by her I read? I think it is. Good Neighbors by Sarah Langan, which I've not read. The Changeling by Victor LaVale. Obviously, Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, which I've not read yet, but I need to.
Me neither. Me too.
Full Immersion by Gemma Amor, which I have read and loved. I think actually that was the first book I read in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
I love Gemma Amor.
Oh, I love her so much.
That book was so good. And then The Shining by Stephen King. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. But those are the ones that I know of are top notch. So I'm sure the rest of them are great as well. I trust his taste. Okay, so let's just wrap this up with y'all. Like, what do you have coming up? Is there anything that you've got in the works that you want to promote or just let people know about? Like, what's going on with y'all that's coming up that people might want to check out, or maybe tell us about your channel or your Instagram or whatever?
I'll let Kat go.
Oh, okay. I've been working on a video. I'm reading from a Goodreads list of 100 horror recommendations. I'm not reading all 100 of them, but I'm reading like 10 to 15, I think. That should be out this week, I think.
Right.
And then I'm also maybe going to be vlogging a little bit extra during holiday, December, Christmassy time, but we'll see about that.
Nice. No, nothing. Nothing. I don't have anything planned. I have a hard time when it comes to like YouTube and stuff, and my creativity is just not there,
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a big planner. I just like at the moment film whatever it is, usually again, wrap ups, book hauls, and TBRs. But other than that, no.
Are you more, do you tend to hang out on Instagram more than YouTube?
Yeah, I have not watched YouTube in such a long time. Like I haven't watched TV, YouTube, anything that's really, really long periods of times or like longer. I can't focus recently. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. I've been having a hard time keeping up with YouTube lately too. That's just because I'm like of my schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, the longer format, it takes time. It's longer format.
And I used to watch a lot of YouTube when I used to wash dishes. But the amount of like sometimes these ads and stuff that I was getting, I was like, it's not worth it. I had to keep taking my gloves off, pressing. Now I'm like, forget it. It's not.
Oh yeah. I have YouTube Premium, and I will say it's totally worth it.
Is it?
You don't have to watch the ads. You can play it while looking at something else. Like I don't watch ads on YouTube, so I feel for you on that. I do.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then someone mentioned they are doing an adaptation of Night Bitch with Amy Adams, which I cannot wait for. And I've been looking for that, and I don't know when that is meant. I feel like they've been filming it for like a year.
Yeah, I feel like I've been hearing about it forever, so I don't know when it's coming out.
Oh gosh, I gotta read it then. Even though, like I said, I haven't been really watching TV or movies or shows or anything, but I get so excited when I hear of adaptations. Like I gotta read the book, and then I never watch the adaptation.
Adaptations like really are one thing that will push a book up my TBR for sure. All right. Well, I think that is going to be it for today. Thank y'all so much for joining me, for putting up with my like kind of chaoticness of this month. I will say we are not doing a book for the Midnight Society Book Club in December. So the next book is going to be in January, and I am going to release a video with the first 3 months of book picks, so January, February, March, in the next couple of weeks here. So keep your eye out for that. I will also put it on Instagram. And I think it's safe to say that this has been initiated, has passed the initiation, and we will submit this and accept it in the Midnight Society. I really do love Nat Cassidy. I feel like he is just a good soul, and I can't wait for what he's got coming out whenever he comes out with something else. I think he's just a really important point of view.
Yeah, I was listening before I didn't finish it to a podcast he did talking about this, and I just love listening to him talk. I feel like he has such an interesting like perspective on things.
I think he's a musician as well, and because I checked out his YouTube once, he actually like commented on one of my videos when I was talking about like Mary being on my TBR before I'd ever read it, and so I checked out his YouTube, and it was just like videos of him like playing guitar. And like hanging out.
Cool.
I was like, okay, this is cool. Like he just has high vibes, high energy, high vibes. I like it. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end this live stream. Again, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today. I appreciate you so much. And
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And don't forget that life is short. So read Riley. Cheers and goodbye.